Welcome to Alimentary, the podcast series where you will learn about your amazing body, how it works, and of course why food is so important, and also pick up some simple recipe and lifestyle tips and tweaks to help you to influence your health in a positive way. The first thing that I do when I go down to the kitchen in the mornings is open the door to the utility to see, are we Bowie, our little dog, all curled up in a cozy little ball. So when he starts to stir, he'll open one eye and the tail starts wagging. That dog gives great side eye. You're never sure what he's thinking until the tail starts wagging. And then when I'm busy, boiling the kettle for my hot water, blitzing maybe some smoothies and getting the lunches ready, he spends a few minutes just stretching on his wee bed. So he does stretches every part of himself and does his downward dog and everything. And by the time I have my boots on and my jacket and his lead ready to go for a walk, he is raring to go. Now, I know that I certainly find, and I think you'd probably agree, that how I start my day can make a big difference to how my day pans out. So if it starts off hassled and rushed, chances are it's going to be like that for the rest of the day. In a previous episode, Willie Horton told us that even 8 minutes of meditation, mindfulness can really make a big difference to us, especially when we practice it fairly consistently. So 5 minutes of stretching before and when we get out of bed is another simple thing that we can do to get our blood flowing. And our animals know this, like Bowie, they know it intuitively, that if you've been lying still all night, it's a good idea to stretch and get the blood moving to all of your muscles, and to stretch and warm up before you start to move. This time of year, I'm adjusting to the darker mornings. Our clock was off at 6, so it's still pitch black outside. So I definitely find that I might hit the snooze button a little bit more often. And that, obviously can mean that I lose time in the morning. So I feel a bit behind myself. It's just not as easy to jump out of bed when it's dark, the way it is in the summer when it's nice and bright and the birds are singing. Now, today's guest on Alimentary is a fan of getting your day off to a good start and aims to encourage us to avoid hitting that snooze button and instead use those extra minutes doing something for ourselves and for our health. Lizzie Brown is an entrepreneur specialising in mental wellness and consumer tech, based in Southern California. Now, prior to co-founding award-winning Apple app of the day, Yoga Wake Up, Lizzie spent a decade developing PR campaign strategies for emerging fitness and wellness brands and personalities, notably Carbon38 and Fabletics. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Public Relations from the University of Florida and has extensive industry knowledge in publicity, entertainment marketing, and influencer marketing. In June, Lizzie graduated from UCLA Anderson School of Management with her Executive MBA. Together with her husband, Lizzie has developed an app called Yoga Wake Up, which has a wide variety of stretches and meditations to suit not only the mornings, but actually any time of day. And the aim is to encourage us to keep our blood circulating and our muscles moving. In this episode, Lizzie tells us about how the idea for the app came about and why it's so good for us to take some time for ourselves in the morning. Even a few minutes makes a difference. Now, I just wanted to say, because you're going to hear me rave about it, this isn't an advertisement for the app. I've just been using it and I'm finding it really useful, so I wanted to share it with you. So, as they say, without further ado, welcome Lizzie Brown from Yoga Wake Up. So Lizzie, it's great to talk to you today, and we're actually talking from 2 different time zones, which is brilliant. So I was wondering, would you mind talking us through your yoga journey and then, why you were drawn to make it a part of your career?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I would say that I probably started practicing yoga around 21 years old. I had always been active and frequented the gym, and I started going to a yoga practice there. The class was probably not very spiritual and just did like a lot of back bending and twisting and that sort of thing, but it was enough to get me hooked. And then I've been practicing ever since. And in let's see, in 2013, I met my husband and he did not practice yoga. But well, he'd maybe tried it once or twice and he was interested, I think, in the benefits of it. He heard from me how much I enjoyed it, and he started going to classes with me. And at the time, he was an app developer, still is. And I had been working with fitness and wellness brands. I'd been practicing PR. So I studied PR in college and had made a career out of it. And he was in a yoga class that kind of interestingly started off in Shavasana, which, if you are practicing yoga regularly, you understand that Shavasana corpse pose is the pose that you do at the end of class, typically.
Yes.
And in this class, it was very different. It started out with that pose at the beginning. And so they started lying down, and then the teacher, her name was Jen Smith, she instructed us to do some gentle stretches on our back. And then she eased us onto our feet and said, good morning. And he kind of had this aha moment from that in that moment, that this could be a way that we start our day and that we wake up. And not just like wake up and get in your car and drive to yoga, but actually wake up and sit up in bed and stretch and set an intention for the day. And at the time, I had been somebody who snoozed my alarm many times when I woke up every morning.
Yes.
And he thought this could also be a creative way of changing my snoozing habit into something healthier and more mindful. And that is how it became what we do, because we very quickly thereafter built the app, brought on Jen to record more content. We've since recorded hundreds of practices with a variety of teachers from all over the world. We have many teachers in the UK, throughout the UK, mostly based in London. But we do have, we're very interested in recording more teachers from all over the world too.
That's amazing. So it's wonderful when you develop something from your own life experience, because
Yes.
you're really passionate about it then, because you've lived the benefits of it. And
Yeah.
I guess I've noticed recently that, say if I have a good night's sleep and I wake up naturally at the weekends, I'll stretch, I'll have a wake up slowly and I stretch. But during the week, when I wake up to an alarm, straight away, I'm in my head and I'm thinking about everything I have to do before I get out the door to work, walk the dog and, feed the cat and get the lunches and everything, So I've just become aware recently that I'm actually starting off the day tense. Why are morning stretches so important? Maybe you could just talk us through that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there's the more practical reasons, which is that it prevents injury throughout the day. There's what you just described, which is creating some ease in our body and not just releasing any like emotional tension or tension related to the things we have to do today or the unexpected, but the physical tension. I mean, your back can be tense when you wake up, or maybe just the benefit of stretching our neck and relaxing our shoulders. All of that comes from doing it when we first wake up in the morning. And then I think that there's something really important around the setting the intention for having this 5 minutes of self-care when you first wake up, and 5 minutes of just like focusing on you and your health and your mind and your body, because that will also inevitably create a little bit less tension throughout the day.
Of course. And I mean, there are quite significant physical benefits. You mentioned that it can avoid injury later on in the day, but when we're asleep, our heart rate slows down. So we're not, our blood isn't pumping really as fast as it does during the day. So stretching can really help that circulation, really, can't it, to get that off?
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then just even thinking about how our nervous system works, moving out of our sympathetic nervous system into our parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
In the mornings, I think sometimes we need a minute.
We do.
Yes. Jumping out of bed, it's just like very,
the shock
it actually is alarming.
Yeah, it is a shock to the system. I mean, because obviously going to attending a yoga class once a week is amazing, and that in-person class is super, and
Absolutely.
you get to learn and everything. I mean, how can those daily stretches, I'm sure they can help improve our flexibility and our mobility, as we practice them.
Yeah, and of course, this is never meant to replace an in-person
Mm,
practice. And there's something that we get from having that connection with other humans
yes.
and in-person connection with our teachers. And these stretches that we offer in Yoga Wake Up are very gentle. They are very accessible, something anyone can do. And that is, I think, very useful for a shorter practice, like just
Yeah.
something where you don't necessarily have the time to fit in. So, not most of us don't have 45 minutes or an hour a day, plus the drive time to get to and from a class. But
Absolutely.
most of us can fit 5 minutes into our morning routine.
Yeah. And practicing even 5 minutes daily will help our weekly yoga practice. It will actually improve our performance in that class, won't it? When you're stretching every day. You're not fighting against as much tension then when you do get into your class.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And the mental tension of it.
Mm.
Like you're
Yeah.
teaching yourself to make this a daily habit.
Yes. Um, yoga, stretching, being in our body can really help us to alleviate like stiffness and joint pain, I think, as well.
Yeah. So what's nice about having the variety on the app is that you can find titles and descriptions that suit the specific needs that you're searching for.
Mm.
We have one that actually addresses tech neck, so I'm probably doing
Yeah.
it right now.
Yeah.
Like when we're like looking down at a screen or our
Yeah.
phones. So we have practices to relieve that. We also have ones that are for like your hands and your feet and like wrist mobility.
Yeah.
So I think that there's something to be said for, especially when it's a shorter, 5, 10, 15 minutes at the most practice,
Mm.
the teacher will actually target specific areas of the body or of the mind. Creating a meditation that's designed just for focusing on a big task or getting comfortable in the uncomfortable.
Mhm. I've sit at a desk like many people, 5 days a
Mhm.
week. I'm really working at a computer, like you said. So I attend a physical therapist like every 6 to 8 weeks, because I get so tense
That's
and
great.
caught up here.
Yeah.
So I have been finding these daily exercises. I think she's going to be really happy with me the next time I go back, because I don't think I'll have as much tension to work out.
That's great.
It's really important because I mean, even for our lymphatic system and just for being more present in our body.
Absolutely.
So I mean, that can lead then to obviously, it's not just the physical benefits, it's the mental and emotional benefits too, isn't it?
I couldn't agree more. And like
Yeah.
when you asked me the very first question about finding my yoga practice, it changes dramatically throughout every decade or even year of your life.
Yeah.
Because I don't think at 20 years old, I was thinking at all about the benefits to my resilience or to how I see the world. I was just looking for a workout
Yeah.
or a way to get a good stretch. But that starts to change, like, in every part of our lives, this practice can kind of change and mold into what you're looking for when we're 30, 40, 50, up into, 80, 90 years old.
Yeah. So that was another thing I was going to ask you about. Like a consistent practice can actually help us to age gracefully as well,
Mhm.
maintaining, muscle strength and our posture. So would you find that yoga and stretches can help with our posture and alignment, especially those of us sitting at a desk all day?
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Obviously the attention to alignment in yoga can make a really big difference. Couldn't agree more. I have a practice that is called Ashtanga that I do, and I do that. So after I, get started in my day, I actually drive to a studio most days and do that. And it's very focused on symmetry. You do one side and then you do the other,
Mm.
and then for every single pose. And I have noticed a remarkable difference in my posture and just in how my body functions, like how I walk, stand, sit, run, because
Yeah.
of the way that it has trained me to be really mindful with how I use my body.
Exactly, being more mindful and grounded in yourself, would you say the consistency is important?
Yes,
Mm,
definitely. But
yeah,
you don't have to, um, like I said it before, it's not about how much you practice or how many minutes or, how hard or like if you get sweaty. But even if you just do a little every day.
mm,
And that's why I think that this is such a great app because it's just asking for 5 to 15 minutes of your time.
yeah,
And on days when you don't have a lot of energy, you can do the from bed practices that are
yeah.
quite cozy and feel good. And then if you have more energy, you can do the ones that are titled Get Up. And
Mm,
those get you moving and get you maybe even doing squats or dancing. So
yeah.
there's a lot of variety.
There is, I have to say that I can see, I've gone through it. I've done loads of them, obviously in advance of chatting to you as well. And I need, this app has been so well thought out. It really has. It's not that there's just loads of different meditations or stretches um in there. It's the way you have laid it out and everything. It is so well thought out. There is literally something for morning, afternoon, evening, bedtime. You can find whatever you need very easily. So I love as well, apart from the lovely morning wake ups. I've listened to several of your teachers as well, so they're all fantastic. But I love, you can go, say, the afternoon ones I've found really good as well. I'm not too bad. I fall asleep fairly quickly, but the afternoon ones, when you need that little bit of extra something after lunch, and the chair asana. There is one which is really good. So there's
It's
stretches that you
such a
can do
good
in your
one.
chair, and it makes such a difference. It's just like we said earlier about the blood flow and the circulation. It's just when you've been sitting down, it just gets everything moving again. And that includes obviously the blood to your brain. So all of a sudden you feel a bit more productive and a bit motivated again. But even I noticed that you even have, a section for families and for aging. So if people have issues with joint pain or you seem to have thought of everything. I have to say, I have to congratulate you.
Thank
I think
you.
it's a
Thank you
wonderful.
so
I think
much.
it really is a great app. Um, how was that journey then in the development? Was that challenging?
Uh, there, of course it
Yeah,
is, because running a business can always be, as you may know, it's different every day, and we're always putting out small fires, um, but it's also been really exciting and helpful to work directly with the teachers on the kind of content that both they and I, and even our community are wanting more of. So I'm so glad that you called out some of those practices, like the
yeah.
healthy aging one, was actually something that came to us, I think, after having a conversation with my husband's dad. We were talking about like, and with the teacher who created that content, because we thought like it's so important that if we're saying that everything on this app is truly accessible, that it is. And we started realizing that, um, what seems uh, like what one person is capable of, especially waking up in the morning, which changes everything, right? Because
Yeah.
we're all a little bit more stiff when we wake up. But if for one person might be really easy to do and somebody else it may be more difficult, and we started thinking we need to have content on the app that also is helping someone build strength, and that series is really great because it starts out with just standing and sitting in your chair, and that is a sign of, or I think a test to longevity, like
Yeah.
how easily you can stand up out of your chair. And then she gradually moves the practice onward to actually doing more like seating and standing in squats,
Yeah.
and building that strength, and also building, the not just the strength, the physical strength, but the confidence in standing and sitting. Because if you are recovering from an injury, or you're having difficulty standing, there's a lot of fear around doing it, and fear of falling. So that was a really important series for us to put on the app. And, there's one teacher on the app, Kate Lister, she came up with something completely on her own. I think maybe, I can't remember why or how it came to be, but within the first 10 minutes of doing the practice, she gets you dancing. And everyone who does it is just so overjoyed and surprised that, like, how did you get me to do that? So I think like there's that has been, both a challenge in coming up with all of the different content on the app, but also a real reward because we've had so much input from the teachers and from, people who use the app will write us and say, can you do this? Or, I'm working through this challenge in my life. Can you create content to help me with it?
Oh, super. And I think it's important with regard to the healthy aging as well, that it's never too late to start building muscle mass. Even if someone has, obviously you have to do it slowly if you're going from the couch to starting to exercise, but actually yoga is a great place to start with exercising because, you're not going to shock your muscles, you're going to stretch them and get the blood circulating to them. And it is a wonderful place to start, but it's never too late, to pick up the practice. Movement's so important. I think it's becoming more talked about at the moment as well, about muscle mass and aging too, isn't it?
Right. Definitely. Yeah. And I just want to also make sure that that it's clear that if there is either on that particular day or in general, someone downloads our app and doesn't want to practice yoga, there's a ton of meditation content and seated content as well. Because we're not always either in the mood or capable of moving that way. And meditations are also very useful.
And again, really well sort of organized and thought out, because they whatever mood you're in, you can find one to suit. Because I have used a couple of meditation apps and I've one that I probably use fairly regularly, but actually I'm using yours more and more, and again, it's whether you need a bit of motivation or whether you just need to relax. I just found the layout now really, really straightforward to follow, and you find what you need very quickly.
Thank you.
So well done. Sorry, go ahead.
Have you tried the bedtime? Have you tried anything for sleep?
I have. Now, the thing is that I actually fall asleep very quickly.
Okay.
So it's probably got into my subconscious. But I'm sure it's really good. I listen to it during the day.
That's great.
But yeah, I do tend to fall asleep very quickly, so I've kind of missed it. But yeah, they're really good. I probably have used it mostly morning and afternoon. Just after lunch.
That's great.
And so you mentioned that your husband is an app developer. So that's lovely that it's been a project for both of you. Yeah. How's that been working together on it? I'm sure it's quite rewarding.
It is. Yeah. We really enjoy it. And I always joke that it works out really well because I don't know how to code and he doesn't know how to do my job. So we can, we're really good at kind of being able to navigate our own, like stay in our own lane, I guess. But also provide constructive feedback to each other.
Of course. And then it's great that you're getting feedback from the users of the app as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I suppose that the key for our listeners is that really you can very simply get your day off to a better start by just, as you said earlier, giving yourself 5 minutes. And that often, I think with the research that I think I saw that the research was that we tend to snooze for at least 9 minutes.
A snooze is 9 minutes typically. Like if you hit snooze once, but some people will snooze 2, maybe 3 times. So it's really closer to 30 minutes.
Yeah. Half an hour. And you could take 5 minutes of that to give yourself, a better start to the day.
And it doesn't actually give you more rest because, and I had to learn this because it was something I was doing for a long time. And once we became a couple and he was like, he's like, I don't want to waste 30 minutes of my morning falling asleep and waking back up
Yeah.
We have to find a better way.
Yeah, because then you feel like you're on the back foot because you're jumping out of bed at that point. You're running late and trying
Mhm.
to catch up with yourself. So that's brilliant. So yeah, so I suppose, are there any some of the feedback that you have got from your users? What benefits have they noticed in their lives?
A lot of them have said it's a game changer. That's
Right.
something that shows up in our reviews quite a bit. This has been a game
Mhm.
changer. We've had people who have left us reviews sharing that they had been dealing with chronic illnesses. We've had people who have come to us who have said that they've had, been dealing with migraine, and that makes it very difficult to, look at a screen. And
Mm.
thankfully, everything on the app is audio only. It's audio by design. So you don't have to look at a screen,
Yeah.
which is very important when you're in bed or waking up in the morning or going to
Yeah.
sleep. But just in general, that's one of the things that people have called out as a really unique feature of our app.
Yeah, that was actually something that I meant to say to you that I really liked about it as well, because obviously looking at a screen, there's that whole blue light thing, and
Mhm,
the fact, and you just get fed up looking at a screen, because you're looking
mhm.
at one all day.
A
So I
tiny one.
actually, yeah, exactly. So I did really appreciate that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, the reviews are very much related. Oh, gosh, we had one where the woman said that she had overslept on her wedding day
Oh,
and that nothing has worked for her before using our app.
wow.
And this was the first and only solution she's found to getting out of bed on time.
It's
So
I think I know that you do a free trial. So
we
I
do.
mean, it's definitely worth doing because it's such a gentle wake up. It's kind of like when you're small and your mother would come in and go, just wake up, and it's like literally guiding you out of bed. It guides you through the stretches, and then now put your feet on the floor,
That's
and
right.
it's just such a lovely gentle way to start. And if you think about it, say maybe on average, maybe about 5 minutes, some of those wake up audios, but then you've gained 20, 25 minutes in the
Yeah.
morning. You're kind
You
of
get
getting a little bit
it.
ahead of ourselves.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I mentioned to
Exactly.
you earlier that it actually, I had been looking for something like this because I had been noticing that, whereas I've been meditating for a couple of years, and I sort of, the way my head is calm and all of that, but I still would have, if I am going through any stress, it's all, I notice it comes out my body. I mentally cope and all of that, but I know, I'll have some issues. And so I had just really become aware recently that I was holding my body, that I was tense. And even I started to notice the way I was walking. So it came at a perfect time, and I definitely love it. And I would definitely encourage everybody to get their day off to a better start. And everything just goes better when you start the
That's
day
right.
well, isn't it?
That's right.
Well,
Wonderful.
it's just been lovely to hear about it and hear about your journey, Lizzie. So thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
My thanks again to Lizzie for her time, and as you will have gathered, I'm very impressed by her app. Not only because it's audio, well organised, and has a lovely ethos behind it, but because it is something for everyone at every stage. I think it's an important message that we don't have to be pushing ourselves to extremes when we're not able to or don't have the time to, but we can still gently influence our health positively in a way that works for us individually and build on that. So just one other little tip I wanted to add in case you're like me and you don't like having your phone or Wi-Fi in the bedroom, what I've been doing is actually downloading the stretching exercises that I want to do the night before. And that's like setting an intention about how I want to start the day, the following day. So then I leave my phone face down on the floor beside the bed. It's on airplane mode, so I'm not going to get any notifications or anything to disturb my sleep. And then just when the clock goes off, instead of hitting the snooze button, I'm hitting that, because in your head it's still like you're not getting up out of bed straight away. But I just open the app and start listening to the stretching exercises. So that's just an extra little tip in case you might have no Wi-Fi in your bedroom, or as I said, if you're like me and you prefer not to have Wi-Fi in the bedroom. So, since we've been talking about muscle mass, and because I've literally just been talking about this little vegetable to a client, the store cupboard staple for this episode is frozen peas. Believe it or not, peas are one of the vegetables which come highest on the list for protein content of vegetables. This might not be so surprising though when you hear that while we think of them as vegetables, they are actually a member of the bean family, and so included in the group of foods known as legumes. So that's lentils, soybeans, chickpeas and beans. Now, legumes are plants which produce pods with seeds or beans inside. The high concentration of vitamins like vitamin A, B6 and E, minerals like calcium and zinc, and antioxidants and phytonutrients in peas provide important health benefits that range from supporting our immune system, our eye health, and even protecting against certain cancers, obviously as part of an overall healthy lifestyle. Now, they also contain fibre, which we know helps to keep us regular and keep our gut healthy, and manages our blood sugar levels, so they're low GI. Now, I mentioned protein content, and a quarter cup contains approximately 4 grams of protein. They also contain carbohydrates. So say on a healthy plate, unless someone is training for some athletic pursuit, our plate should generally be a quarter carbs, quarter protein, half vegetables. So if you have other carbs on your plate like rice or potatoes, half a cup of peas is plenty, and you'll get plenty of good nutrients from that. Now, frozen vegetables can be really handy, and obviously because they're frozen, when they're picked, they retain their nutrient content. You can obviously get lots of different types of frozen vegetables, and they're great. Generally, I just happen to prefer fresh vegetables because of the taste, but I always have frozen peas and beans in the freezer. They're really handy and quick to cook, and they can be added to stir fries, stews, or even soups very easily. I'd say that I have peas on average about 2 to 3 times a week, so there's no need to have them every day, simply because variety is not only the spice of life, but also when we eat a variety of whole foods, we consume a variety of amazing nutrients. So unless you're restricted with any gut issues, try and change up your vegetables for whatever's in season and, mix it up. My newsletter features seasonal vegetables with links to recipes, just in case you're interested in that. But you can find, lists online as well. So, have you been surprised by what a little powerhouse peas are? Hopefully you have been impressed, and hopefully you have some motivation there to add in some more whole foods into your shopping trolley this week. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I just wanted to clarify that the podcast is for informational purposes only and does not substitute professional care from a doctor or trained health professional, nor constitute medical advice or services if you're in a position to need either. However, if you found it interesting, you can subscribe to make sure you don't miss future episodes, or sign up for my newsletter on lynsharkynutrition.ie.